Welcome to Finland. A country located in northern Europe, where the Baltic Sea meets the vast northern forests with an area of about 338,000 square kilometers. From the early 20th century, when transportation and trade developed, this land gradually became an attractive destination for those seeking pristine nature. Thanks to that, Finland's distinctive landscapes gradually became known to the world. This place stands out with crystal clear lakes, endless coniferous forests, and winters covered in white snow. Not only nature, the long-standing sauna culture, the slow-paced lifestyle, and fascinating phenomena such as the Northern Lights have given Finnish tourism a very unique beauty. The journey to explore Finland will begin in the Baltic Sea, where a historic archipelago once witnessed battles and trade over many centuries. Suomenlinna Fortress. Located on a small archipelago at the entrance of Helsinki Bay, only about 15 minutes by ferry from the center of Finland's capital. The fortress was built in 1748 under Swedish rule to protect the Baltic Sea from Russian expansion. After many historical changes, Suomenlinna was once under Russian control before becoming part of an independent Finland. The military history lasting for many centuries has turned this place into one of the most important cultural heritages of the country, and it was recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site in 1991. Today, Suomenlinna is a prominent tourist destination of Helsinki, where visitors can explore the system of stone walls, coastal fortifications, and ancient military tunnels. 6 islands are connected by bridges and walking paths, forming a space that carries both historical marks and the closeness of the Baltic Sea nature. One of the most impressive structures is King's Gate, an ancient stone gate facing the sea, the symbol of the fortress since the 18th century. Not only a historical monument, Suomenlinna is also a living community with about 800 residents. Traditional painted wooden houses, small cafes, and museums such as the Suomenlinna Museum or the Vesiko submarine help visitors better understand the life and history of the area. The most interesting experience when coming here is walking along the fortress walls overlooking the Baltic Sea, where visitors can watch ships passing through Helsinki Bay and feel the salty air of the sea breeze. In summer, the grassy fields around the fortress become places for concerts, picnics, and cultural events, creating a travel space that is both ancient and lively in the heart of Finland's capital. Leaving the fortress walls in the middle of the Baltic Sea, the journey continues back to the center of the capital to meet a remarkable architectural symbol of Finland. Helsinki Cathedral. One of the most prominent architectural structures of the capital Helsinki, located at Senate Square, the historical and administrative center of the city. The cathedral was built in 1830 according to the design of architect Carl Ludvig Enel during the period when Finland still belonged to the Russian Empire. Initially, the building was named St. Nicholas Church to honor Tsar Nicholas I. After Finland gained independence in 1917, the church was renamed Helsinki Cathedral and became an important religious symbol of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Finland. The architecture of the cathedral makes a strong impression with its pure white color together with the green dome standing out against the Nordic sky. 4 smaller domes surrounding the central dome create a balanced composition in neoclassical style. On the roof are statues of the 12 apostles cast in zinc, facing 4 directions of the city like spiritual guardians of Helsinki. The large granite steps in front of the cathedral have become a familiar part of urban life, where locals and visitors often stop to admire the panoramic view of the square. Inside the cathedral carries the simplicity typical of Lutheran architecture with a bright space, tall white columns, and a delicately decorated altar. Although not overly elaborate, the interior still exudes a solemn and tranquil atmosphere. This is also a place where many sacred music concerts and cultural events are held, especially during Christmas season when the sound of the organ resonates within the vast dome space. Senate Square in front of the cathedral is the center of many major festivals and events in Helsinki. From the ancient atmosphere in the heart of the capital, the journey continues to take us to a long, standing town by a river, where the breath of the past is still clearly preserved. Porvoo. Among the oldest towns in Finland, located about 50 kilometers east of Helsinki. The settlement was formed in the 13th century when merchants began building trading ports along the Porvoonjoki River. Thanks to the convenient water trade route, Porvoo quickly developed into an important commercial center of southern Finland during the Middle Ages. In 1809, the town marked its place in history when the Diet of Porvoo was held here, marking the moment Finland became an autonomous Grand Duchy under Russian rule. The most prominent attraction for visitors in Porvoo is the Old Porvoo district, where small cobblestone streets wind between brightly painted wooden houses. The red riverside warehouses, built in the 18th century to store commercial goods, have become the symbolic image of the town. The distinctive red color of these buildings was once painted to welcome the visit of King Gustav III of Sweden in the late 18th century. Life in Porvoo still preserves many traditional cultural features. Craft shops, Small bakeries and historic cafes appear along narrow streets, creating a very characteristic atmosphere of a Nordic town. Porvoo Cathedral, with its history dating back to the 15th century, still plays an important role in the spiritual life of local residents. This wooden and stone structure has witnessed many historical events of the country over several centuries. What impressed you the most about this place? After the peaceful charm of old streets and wooden houses along the river, the journey will expand toward the far north with snowy nature and the colors of the northern lands. Rovaniemi. The capital of Lapland in northern Finland, considered the tourism center of the Arctic region. The city developed along the Kemijoki River and near the Arctic Circle, the famous geographical boundary marking the northernmost region of the Earth. From a trading point of the Sami people and Nordic merchants, Rovaniemi gradually expanded in the early 20th century when transportation routes and railways were built. After World War II, the city was reconstructed according to the plan of the famous architect Alvar Aalto, creating a modern urban appearance amid the vast nature of Lapland. Tourism in Rovaniemi is closely associated with the polar natural landscape and indigenous culture. The city is known as the official hometown of Santa Claus, where Santa Claus Village, a tourist village built directly on the Arctic Circle, is located. Visitors can step across the line marking the Arctic Circle, visit the Santa Claus post office to send postcards around the world, and meet Santa Claus in the snowy forest setting typical of Lapland. Besides winter tourism activities, Rovaniemi is also a place to learn about the culture of the Sami people, the long-established indigenous community in Northern Europe. The Arctica Museum introduces the Arctic nature, harsh climate, and the traditional life of the Sami people, from reindeer herding to festivals and traditional clothing of the Lapland region. The nature around Rovaniemi creates characteristic images of the polar region. Birch forests covered in white snow open paths where sleds pulled by husky dogs or reindeer move through the forest. Leaving behind the aurora skies and snow-covered forests, the next stop takes us back to eastern Finland, where a medieval fortress still stands amid vast waters. Olavinlinna Castle. Located in the city of Savonlinna in eastern Finland, amid the vast lake region of the Saimaa system. The fortress was built in 1475 under Swedish rule to protect the border area against Russian expansion. The structure was named after Saint Olaf of Norway and became one of the best preserved medieval stone fortresses in Northern Europe. Over many centuries, Olavinlinna once served as an important military center during the conflicts between Sweden and Russia, before later becoming a historical heritage site and a prominent tourist destination of Finland. The architecture of Olavinlinna makes a strong impression with 3 large granite defensive towers rising from the water. The fortress was built on a small island, surrounded by Lake Saimaa and natural canals, forming a defensive system that was very difficult to access during the Middle Ages. The thick stone walls, narrow corridors, and the inner courtyard of the fortress still preserve their original structure from the 15th century, offering a clear view of Nordic military architecture of that period. Inside the fortress are exhibition rooms presenting military history, the lives of soldiers, and stories about the border wars in the region. Guided tours lead visitors through tall watchtowers, ancient prison rooms, and dark stone corridors, places that once witnessed many periods of Finnish history. Every summer, the fortress becomes the stage of the Suomenlinna Opera Festival, one of the most famous opera festivals in Europe. Performances take place right in the courtyard of the ancient fortress, where music echoes among the stone walls hundreds of years old. From the stone military relics of many centuries ago, the next scene opens into a world of lakes, small islands, and green forests characteristic of Finland. Saimaa Lake. This area was formed during the last ice age about 10,000 years ago, when massive glaciers melted and created thousands of lakes. Small islands and natural channels intertwined with each other. This unique geographical structure has formed the characteristic landscape of eastern Finland, where water and forests blend into a vast natural space. Thousands of small islands covered with pine and birch forests stretch across the blue lake surface, creating a very characteristic scene of the Nordic region. Lakeside towns such as Suomenlinna, Lapland, and Imatra have become familiar stops for journeys exploring the nature of Finland. One of the special features of Saimaa is its rare wildlife, most notably the Saimaa ringed seal, the rarest freshwater seal in the world. This animal lives only in the Saimaa Lake region and is considered a symbol of the local ecosystem. Nature reserves and national parks around the lake help protect the natural habitat of this precious species. The life of local residents has been connected to the lake for many generations. Leaving the quiet inland lake landscapes behind, the journey continues toward the coast, where ancient rivers and layers of history reveal another chapter of this Nordic land. Turku. The city was formed in the 13th century along the Ora River, where merchants from the Baltic and Scandinavia frequently exchanged goods. During the period when Finland was under Swedish rule, Turku developed strongly and became the most important city in the region, while also serving as the gateway connecting Finland with maritime trade routes across the Baltic Sea. The area along the Ora River is considered the social center of the city with pedestrian streets, cafes and restaurants along the riverbanks. Old wooden ships anchored at the harbor create an image reminiscent of the period when maritime trade flourished in the city. The Ora River not only divides the city into two parts, but also becomes an important scenic axis in urban life. Turku also preserves many important historical structures. Turku Cathedral, the largest church in Finland, was built in the late 13th century and once served as the religious center of the nation. Around the cathedral area are old streets, museums, and architectural works bearing the marks of the medieval period. Cultural life in Turku is very vibrant, with many festivals taking place throughout the year. Summer brings music events, art festivals, and riverside outdoor markets. During Christmas, the city holds the proclamation of the Christmas Peace, a tradition dating back to the 14th century that is still maintained today. From the rhythm of life along the river and the ancient structures of the city, the story continues with a stone fortress associated with many historical changes. Turku Castle. The structure was built in the late 13th century under the Kingdom of Sweden to control trade routes on the Baltic Sea and protect the southwestern coastal region of Finland. From an initial military fortress, Turku Castle gradually developed into an administrative center and residence of Swedish governors for many centuries. The architecture of Turku Castle carries the characteristics of Nordic fortresses with thick stone walls, tall watchtowers, and a large inner courtyard system. After several expansions, the structure transformed from a defensive fortress into a Renaissance-style castle in the 16th century. Stone corridors, grand halls, and living quarters of the nobility clearly reflect the life of the ruling class during the period when Finland was under Swedish rule. Today, Turku Castle functions as a major historical museum, preserving many artifacts about life during the medieval and Renaissance periods in the Baltic region. Exhibition rooms recreate spaces such as the royal kitchen, banquet halls, prison rooms, and military areas. Stories about wars, political power, and the lives of residents inside the castle help visitors better understand the history of Turku and Finland. The area around the castle opens to a coastal harbor landscape with ships and walking routes leading to the Baltic Sea. The ancient stone walls of the castle stand out amid the harbor scenery, creating a characteristic image of Turku. When evening light shines on the gray stone blocks of the fortress, Turku Castle appears like a vivid historical trace, recording the journey of many centuries of the southwestern coastal land of Finland. Closing the medieval imprint by the sea, the journey will move north to Lapland to touch the wild beauty of northern nature. Pallas-Yllästunturi National Park. Located in the Lapland region in northern Finland and considered one of the oldest national parks in the country. This protected area was established in 1938 to preserve the characteristic ecosystem of the far north, including low hills, tiger forests, and vast wetland areas. With an area stretching across hundreds of square kilometers, the park forms a vast natural space where people can clearly feel the untouched beauty of Lapland. The terrain of Pallas-Yllästunturi is notable for the tunturi, the low rounded hills characteristic of the Nordic region. From the tops of these hills, pine and birch forests can be seen stretching to the horizon. The air in this area is considered among the cleanest in Europe thanks to the low population density and the strictly protected natural environment. The trail system stretching hundreds of kilometers leads through forests, wetlands, and tundra hilltops, allowing visitors to reach natural areas that are little affected by human activity. In winter, these routes become the longest cross-country skiing trails in Finland, attracting those who love winter sports. Reindeer herding, traditional huts, and folk stories about the tundra mountains reflect the long-standing relationship between humans and nature in this region. The journey to explore Finland takes us through stone fortresses in the middle of the Baltic Sea, old towns along rivers, historic cities, and the pristine natural regions of Lapland. From medieval architecture and indigenous culture to forests, lakes, and the northern light sky, each place tells a part of the story about the history, people, and characteristic landscapes of this Nordic country. If you enjoy journeys exploring unique destinations around the world, don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next videos about other fascinating places. Thank you for accompanying today's trip, and see you again in the next exploration journeys.